and welcome to episode 205 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the goose, Alessandro. Say hello, Al.
You told me not to think.
I should have called you the ghost. That would have been not thinking. On this week's episode, we've got the Oscar noms, Fucking Hellbeer, Wandering Earth, Joes, Last of Us premiere data, and other news and nuggets, all before diving into our flick of the week, Top Gun Maverick. But first, Al, we should have done an audio recording of the theme song for our intro.
That would have been good.
It would have been a good one. It was...
Or Danger Zone karaoke.
Stay tuned after the credits. No, we're not doing that. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
We are drinking Southern Tier Brewing Company's Lake Shore Fog, which is a hazy, juicy IPA. It's 6.5% alcohol by volume, and it's brewed and canned by Southern Tier Brewing Company, Lakewood, New York. This is unfortunately only 12 ounces, but we'll give them a pass because we've done a bunch of Southern Tier beers. I think they're usually been solid to us on this show.
They're solid.
I've been very jealous of the wonderful head retention on your beers the last couple of times we've done the show, and thankfully mine had a pretty juicy head this time, so now I don't feel quite so jealous. Ah, okay.
Interesting.
Well, it's about time we started pulling this back on, like, evening out the scale, so.
Yeah. Loving the can art. Liking that beautiful blue color. I like all of the different ranges of blue that they use for it versus changing the color up.
You know what this looks like? It looks like if you're playing Pokemon Blue on a Game Boy Color, where everything is blue shaded, but slightly different shades of blue, blue-green.
That's fascinating. I also love this little lighthouse.
It's a sweet lighthouse.
Southern Tier, man, they've got some good stuff.
Yeah, always solid.
I'm not sure that I've been let down by a Southern Tier.
No, I don't know that they've ever really had something that, like, knocked my socks off, but they've never had anything where I've been like, this sucks.
But, like,
just
something that's nice. A nice consistency where you could walk into a liquor store and be like, I would like a good beer. And then you see their logo and you're like, you know what? I know the general level of quality that I'll be getting. I can grab any one of these and I probably won't have an issue with it.
Yes, very
That's
solid,
nice.
Consistent, workmanlike.
Like a Jack's Abbey.
I would put Jack's Abbey
Jack's Abbey above it.
I will equate, you're right, the consistency level.
Yeah.
But I would think I would say the overall quality level is a little higher with Jack's Abbey.
I'm down with that.
Because we've had a couple beers where we were like, hell yeah, from that.
Yeah,
so.
This is special.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, there's one very small, it's an ale, just in case you're wondering.
Oh, what do you know?
This is a very small amount of text, but it's right there.
It also looks like it was something they felt really important that they should tell you, but they didn't know where to put it, and so they just kind of like
it's
jammed
like
it.
Also ale.
They just jammed it in a really random spot.
That's pretty funny. Actually, I guess before we taste it though, a little bit on the look here. Completely opaque on my end. Yours looks a little bit more see-through.
Oh yeah, mine's much clearer than yours, and it's a very light, pale goldenrod type of color. It looks like a Pilsner, but I will tell you, it does not smell like a Pilsner. It smells delightful.
Mine looks how it smells. It looks juicy AF.
Yeah, it's
I
juicy,
also did roll mine
fresh.
Before I opened it, so that would explain.
I did not roll mine, so that would do it.
That probably it.
It smells juicy and fresh and refreshing.
It does. I'm pretty excited about it. I think I'm going in.
Yep.
Cheers.
What taste is the beer? Let's go.
Buttercream, Coxkin buttercream. That's nice.
Very nice. This might be my favorite Southern Tier. Is that too rash to say that like that? It's been a while since we've had one.
Not having the immediate memory of other Southern Tiers on my tongue.
I mean, pumpkin, right? That's the standard. Do they do Warlock as well? I forget. That's someone else.
Yeah, they do. But this is really good because this is also right up my alley. It's not it is very juicy. Very juicy,
but crisp, not too sweet. It's got a crisp, dry finish to it, but that juicy, sweet flavor on the front end of the profile.
Like almost no bitter taste at all.
It's subtle. It's lingering there just to balance it out. I think that's part of the crispness of the finish, but it's not punching you in the face with hops. It's definitely letting the juiciness be more forward.
It smells fantastic. This is really good. I'm gonna go Trace Knuckles.
Okay, I'll meet you at 3.
Were you on the fence? Were you on the fence with 4 again?
Yeah, I was between 2 and 3, but very, very good. I'll meet you there.
Yeah, I like it. This is nice. I feel like we've been back for a little bit now. We've been going steady.
We've had a good run of beers.
We've had a good run of beers. I agree. My least favorite of them was the Irish Stout, but honestly, that wasn't the beer's fault.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. So, I would agree. That seems like the one that you enjoyed the least, but you still seem to enjoy it.
Yeah, still good. It's what it should be. It's what it should have been.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just wasn't up my alley. But this is good. All right, I'm digging this. You know, we so far. We'll get into it later when we do our reviews. But I feel like fairly consistent with the quality of movies that we've been doing. Fairly consistent with the quality of beer that we've been doing. This has been all in all pretty good.
We're back.
We're back, baby. All right. Well, with that, I think it's time to get into some news and nuggets. Tell me, let's start with this fucking hell beer. I want to know what that's all about. I'm very curious. I'm curious since you made me write it down.
So, you know what? I dropped the ball slightly. I forgot to bring up this story. I have a screenshot capped from this, but hang on 1 minute.
Vamping. We don't have to do that. I auto trim the silence. Now I'm just making it awkward.
It's okay. So, fuck off. Okay, so I've mentioned in the past on Defector, which is the evolution that used to be Deadspin when that was a real thing. Drew McGarry writes during the football season every Thursday. It's Drew McGarry's Thursday afternoon NFL Dick Joke Jamboree.
Right.
It's his football column that he writes on Thursdays. And there's been a lot of running segments of that. It always opens with some sort of story or anecdote or life lesson that he wants to impart. And then it gets into discussion of the football games. Sometimes it's of football. Sometimes it's not at all. He rates all of the games for that weekend on a scale of 1 to 5 throwgasms, which are represented by a football.
Stupid.
It's incredibly stupid. But then on top of that, every week there's some things that have been from the beginning, some things that have been swapped in and out. One of the things that he has, for at least the last several years, has been the Game Time cheap beer of the week. And writers submit the randomest, cheapest beer they can find. Often it's international. There's a lot of people who are like, I was on holiday in Vietnam and I found this random ass beer. Or sometimes I was in some gas station in Ames, Iowa, and I saw this and I'd never heard of it before. There was one this week that was the Game Time cheap beer of the week. Fucking hell.
That was the name of the beer. Okay. All right.
From German reader Burned. And I'm going to send this to you right now, Anthony, so that you can follow along and take a look at the picture. I know that you're on Do Not Disturb, but here it comes. Because fucking hell is a legitimate name. There is a city near Salzburg in Austria called Fucking that's famously had to cement its signs at the city limits because they keep getting stolen. The word hell means light-colored and in Germany frequently refers to a brewing style, especially near Munich. However, the brewery's owners describe their beer as being more Pilsner style. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a sham. The beer isn't actually brewed in Fucking. Nonetheless, the brewery's owners managed to get a trademark registered across Europe. No U.S. distribution, though. No one will register the trademark for them. It's €5.39 for a 6-pack. This is actually quite expensive by German standards. It's got a green label. It's got some gold foil.
It's spelled with a PH, so it's pronounced fuck.
It's pronounced fuck, like fuck. It's fucking hell, and I would love to get my hands on a bottle of this. I don't know if I would even drink it. I just want a bottle to display.
No, you gotta drink it. You drink it and then you display the bottle.
If someone can give me a 6-pack, I will drink 5 of them. I will share 5
That's
of them.
fair.
And I will save one for possibility.
I mean, this is pretty wonderful.
Fucking hell.
It's so unassuming. It's just from a distance, that's probably a Heineken
Yeah.
And then you get a little closer. You're like, wait, no, is that Rolling Rock? And then you get a little closer.
Actually, I don't think I did this on the show, but I sent one of these to Dominic and his friends a couple weeks ago from this column. There was a beer called Booty Light.
Oh my gosh.
It has since been discontinued, but reader Trace will pour one out for his lost treasure. I believe they have now gone out of business, but this is one of my all-time favorite beers based simply on marketing. The company is called Booty Beer. The motto is America's Entertainment Beer. If you look closely, you can see on the side of the can it reads, "Grab a booty." All one word, GRABEBOOTIE.
Yeah, I'm thinking now, when you go to like I haven't been to like a Fridays in ages, right? But they do like they'll pour the Blue Moon and the Guinness together, and they'll call it like, I don't know. They have like some silly name for combining the two beers together.
Isn't that a black and tan, basically?
Sure. But that's what I think it's actually called, but they have some stupid name for it. But
because black and tan technically is supposed to use Yingling, but it's the same principle.
But I mean, like, surely we should be serving this with the booty one at our brewery, and it should be called booty fucking, right? Like, I just like it's gotta be. You gotta mix it up.
That would be such a terrible beer. A shitty American light beer mixed with a questionable German Pils adjacent beer.
Questionably expensive German Pilsner. Oh, man. Well, I think now you have to make something that is of a mixture of those styles, and that's what it will be called.
I would not be caught dead making a light beer. I'm sorry.
You just don't make it light. Just pour half of the cup. I'm sorry. It's so stupid. All right. Well, that was that. Okay. So, you know what? Every once in a while, you pull out one of these articles from this place and it really does work out. I'm going to save the Oscar noms for the end because I haven't looked at them yet. I just took a quick glance and I feel like it'll be fun to go through this.
I also only barely skimmed the list. I figured we'd do it. So
tell me how we're going to break number one in China.
Oh, yeah. So I saw this and I was like, oh, man. We got to talk about this, considering we were at one point the number 19 movie podcast in China. So I stumbled across this story online the other day. It was on...
Just to pause on that for a second, that is a lot of people to be sitting through our nonsense, unless they skipped ahead to the movie, which, I mean, granted, we give bookmarks for that reason.
Sure. I am genuinely wondering how this show, any episode of our show, plays in China. I mean, there's a decent chance that it was just like an entire department of like the Chinese government listening to find if we like slandered China. They just listened to the whole episode start to finish. Okay, this is unoffensive, whatever. But it's just there's so many.
Just not how we expected it to be.
Yeah, but like unoffensive to our sensibilities. So, I mean, I feel like we were, if nothing else, not complimentary to them. You know. Mm-hmm. But anyway,
high praise.
I stumbled across this totally unassuming, and I was like, well, I got to talk about this now. So this was actually a review on Polygon. I'm not going to read the whole review,
okay.
But the beginning was kind of a little bit of like a background. So the headline was, The Wandering Earth 2 takes a sci-fi blockbuster in a stranger, darker direction. So technically it's not a sequel. So let me read the beginning of this. So successfully
is The Wandering Earth also?
Well, no. To successfully imitate the kind of mega-budget worldwide blockbuster most closely associated with Hollywood productions, filmmaker Frank Guo literally went global. 2019's The Wandering Earth, a sci-fi disaster adventure that became one of China's biggest ever box office hits, takes place in a future world where Earth has been implanted with thrust rockets and piloted out of orbit to avoid a solar disaster. Astronauts
still can't get over that plot.
It was inventive, for sure.
Yeah.
Astronauts must steer the spaceship planet to a... Holy shit, Epson, fuck off. Sorry, my auto, updater install thing just popped up and took up my entire screen. Astronauts must Astronauts must steer the spaceship planet to a new home. While
I'm sorry, they must steer. Are you Sean Connery reading the review?
Astronauts must steer the spaceship to a new home while the surface freezes and its diminished inhabitants huddle underground. The film's enormous scope helped the movie become a Chinese smash, though it fell short of a worldwide phenomenon. In the US, it had a limited theatrical run, then premiered on Netflix.
It was a Chinese smash.
Wow. Wandering Earth's extensive, sometimes convoluted world building, drawn from a short story by the three-body problem author Cixin Liu, left plenty of room for a follow-up. But Guo must have grown attached to the less icy version of his home planet, because The Wandering Earth 2, receiving a somewhat wider US release alongside its Chinese debut, is something even less likely than a disaster movie sequel. It's a disaster movie prequel.
Oh.
Set across multiple decades leading up to Earth's launch out of orbit, enabled by thousands of fusion-powered engines around the globe, the prequel starts off with plenty of its predecessors' grab bag maximalism. There is a seemingly mad scientist extolling the virtues of a digital you that can live forever. An AI-based plan pitched as an alternate way to survive the coming apocalypse. It's unclear, but it sounds like the idea was to upload everyone to a Matrix-esque digital world and leave the actual one to fry. Pro-digital terrorist groups attack a massive space elevator, explosions and low-gravity fisticuffs erupt, and we learn that 91% of Americans oppose moving Earth out of orbit because they don't think a problem 100 years away is worth solving. The world isn't on the side of the reality, one official laments.
Interesting.
The sprawling results initially feel like a mashup of Don't Look Up and Independence Day Resurgence, but as the film enters its second hour than its third, it brings in even more familiar bits and pieces of other movies.
Did you say end its third?
Its second hour than its third. It runs 173 minutes, so it's just a hair under 3 hours.
Okay.
This is a funny sentence. There is so much movie in The Wandering Earth 2.
I like that.
The movie may set a record for the sheer number of subtitled locations, timelines, characters, and occasionally even hardware. The first movie's astronaut, Liu Pekang, gets a backstory. So does one of the computer systems. The writing team steals bits of Interstellar one moment and engages in parallel thinking with Moonfall the next. So anyway, that's about all I really want to read about this. But I'm shocked by the audacity to name something The Wandering Earth 2 when it takes place prior to the events of the first movie.
Yeah. So
do they not understand how prequels and sequels work?
I was just curious. Is this like a
convention?
Is this just a title translation issue?
It could be. It very much could be. But yeah, I would have thought they would have understood like the naming conventions would be like, you know.
What if it came out if it was The Wandering Earth 1? Would you respect that?
So that you have The Wandering Earth and then The Wandering Earth 1?
Yeah.
The Wandering Earth before The Wandering?
It should be pre-Wandering Earth.
The pre-Wandering Earth?
The pre-Wandering. I mean, okay. I kind of want to watch this.
I mean, we watched the first one.
I was entertained.
Yeah, no. So I won't read any more of the review. I just wanted to read that backstory on how this movie was made and the general premise of it.
It's kind of cool that happened. I mean, it's kind of awesome how much traction that first one did get, and it was a lot of fun. So,
are you talking about our show on it, or
that too? Really, I'm doing this for I want to do this movie for selfish reasons.
Yeah, sure, why not? This time, I'll probably even watch the whole dubbed Netflix version rather than the Chinese subtitled version for the first 2/3, and then the dubbed version for the final third.
Hey, man. I watched the subtitled version all the way through. I will say, I have no problem with that, except for, especially in like an action like oriented movie like this, you do spend a lot of time focusing on that bottom 10th of the screen and missing a lot. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it either. It's just, if there's an English alternative, I'm gonna choose that one. Like, we've done a couple of Korean movies, and I had no problem doing it with the subtitles.
Yes.
I would have also had no problem doing that one with all of the sign language if it had had the subtitles. What the hell is that called?
I think it's incredible. A Quiet Place.
That's right. It was like something about silence or something.
Without subtitles. That was The Deafening Silence. That's what it was called. Man, that is great. I
cannot go back and watch it again with the subtitles. I can't.
No.
It's fun to laugh about, but the shame I would feel rewatching that movie, I can't do it. I'll watch the second one eventually. I can't rewatch the first one.
I just like the idea that the whole time you're watching, you're like, I just assume this is real sign language, and for somebody else, this means a lot more than it means to me.
I mean, if you go
the
to
inner monologue you were having,
if you're going to go to the lengths to shoot 80% of your movie with sign language, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that they researched it and have it correct. Because just imagine being a deaf viewer, seeing this movie was coming out, being excited. Oh, they're going to do something that's super relevant to me. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. And then just sitting there the whole time like, it's fucking wrong. That's fucking wrong. They're just doing shit. They're just doing shit with their hands. Fuck you.
You mean
like
fuck all of you. One of those quote unquote translators hops up in front of a politician and isn't a real translator?
Is that
you've seen this, right? This has happened a couple times where somebody gets up there to do sign language and they are not part of the plan.
Oh, no, I don't think
shit up. Yeah.
It's
a thing.
I've seen actual translators do actual sign language for those things. I've never seen what you're talking about.
Oh, I'll send you one. It's convincing to somebody who doesn't know any better, like me. But it was not accurate. Pretty good. All right, so The Wandering Earth 2. Let's add that to the list. 2023. That's at least a year away, right?
I have news for you.
Dude, I've been writing the wrong date all year.
I haven't got it wrong yet, surprisingly. I think I'm good. I think I'm in the clear.
Good for you.
Good for you. Oh, good for you.
Tell me about the Last of Us premiere date.
That's right. This
one piece of data.
Well, it's not a datum. It's data, so.
All right. Multiple datums?
No, multiple data.
Data. Data.
This is on Variety.
We have fun.
Yeah, we try. This is from January 23rd.
What did I pluralize the other week that really pissed you off?
Oh, I don't remember. The problem is you took something that already had a weird pluralization and you made it the wrong one. You did the radius radii thing, but to something that it just did not apply to.
That's sad. That sounds right. I do that a lot.
Yeah.
Intentionally.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's fine. The Last of Us scores HBO's largest ever viewership growth for a drama from premiere to episode 2.
Oh.
After achieving HBO's second most watched series premiere in more than a decade, The Last of Us is now reaching an even bigger audience and breaking a new record for the pay TV channel. According to measurements by Nielsen, combined with first-party data from Warner Brothers Discovery, Episode 2 brought in 5.7 million viewers across linear airings on HBO and streams on HBO Max. That marks a 22% increase from last week's record-breaking 4.7 million, a number that Warner Brothers Discovery later reported had already jumped to 10 million viewers after 2 days of availability.
Damn.
Per HBO, the jump from the initial premiere viewership to Episode 2's debut audience is the largest Week 2 audience growth for an HBO original drama series in the history of the network. The network also offered yet another update regarding the series premiere's viewership, stating that after one full week of availability, Episode 1 is now tracking at 18 million viewers, up nearly 4x from its premiere night audience. The immediate popularity of The Last of Us is unsurprising. The drama series is an adaptation of the mega-hit video game of the same name that has sold over 10 million copies worldwide. The only comparable HBO series in recent memory is House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones sequel series that debuted in August. Again, with the sequel that's actually a prequel. Fuck.
Yeah.
So really, they're just following our lead, I guess, and we fucked it up first. The series that debuted in August of 2022. Both series have significantly outperformed the launch of both seasons of Euphoria, which became HBO's second biggest series of all time after Game of Thrones, during its second season in early 2022. For comparison, Euphoria Season 2 premiered to 2.4 million viewers and grew to 6.6 million by its finale, though it should be noted that House of Dragon and The Last of Us had the benefit of debuting as parts of franchises that already established fan bases. HBO noted that Sunday night viewership for an HBO series typically represents 20 to 40% of the show's total gross audience per episode.
Interesting. I was curious about that.
Therefore, it can be expected that The Last of Us Episode 2, titled Infected, will hit another milestone soon. And then the rest of it is just about the show itself. So
nice. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that it's getting this kind of traction, because that just means that they'll at least go for sure with a second season, which I assume will cover the second game.
A premiere that is second only to the sequel to the most popular show on HBO history.
Yeah.
That's a pretty nice.
That's impressive. Yeah, for sure. And it's awesome. I mean, like, and to their credit, like, it is so good. And we will get into that more after the credits.
Yes.
But
also, I
exciting.
Would be skeptical that season 2 would be about the second game, because there's a time jump, isn't there?
There is a time jump. However, the main actress is currently the age of the character in the second game, so it could just, like, they could make it work.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I figured this would be the type of thing that maybe you do in like 3 seasons, and the second season would kind of fill in the gaps between the two.
That
games.
would be cool.
And then the third season would be
I would be all for
game.
that. Yeah, because and then there's also, I think what's nice about that is they're not done either. So
really, I guess the way that I'm aware that the second game ended, like, I don't remember all the details, but it seemed like it was open to more, but it also could easily end right there as well.
It's the second game has a post-credit sequence that kind of passes the baton to somebody else being the point of focus.
Okay.
So like it makes sense that they would be working on the third one, and they've probably been working on it for a while, would be my guess.
It was like 7 years between those games coming out?
Yeah, it was quite a bit of time. I don't know exactly, but that would give them time. Like, if they did another season, like if they did an in-between season, and then the third season is the second game, like, that would give enough time for like a third game to come out, which could be cool. Or like, maybe they do a time jump there too. Give them another season buffer for TV, like just to make sure like it gets spread out. But I'm really curious to see what they do. And honestly, if they did 2 seasons that covered both games, like, that would be enough, and it would be fantastic. Like, they're doing an incredible job so far, and I cannot wait. So I very much look forward to Sundays.
The first game came out in 2013. The second game came out in 2020.
There you go. That's awesome. Very exciting. Very happy to hear that it's doing this well. It would be funny to. I want to take a peek into the parallel universe where Uncharted got this treatment instead of getting a movie, and got like an actual, like, legit, like, HBO show that captured all of the essence. Because that would have been cool too. But I guess it still could happen. Things have been rebooted faster in the past. So
I also think if you wanted to go with the groundwork, you could just hand off that movie into a show.
That's true. But a show that was more faithful to the already good storylines that go on in the game would benefit Uncharted as well. But anyway, that's really exciting. I'm pumped that they're doing well. I mean, if you listened to our post credits last week, I felt like the first episode was flawless and a perfect adaptation. Like, and it was like, this is exactly what a video game show or movie should be. Like, there's like, one, don't make them off of games with a shitty story. There's no reason to, because there's so many games that have great stories. This one is one of the best. So it makes sense. So if they screwed it up, it would have been really hard to screw it up, because they have, like, it already plays out like a movie. So, like, they have all the stuff they need.
Yeah, the only way you could fuck this up is if you're just decided, let's trade on the name, The Last of Us. But we don't really feel like doing all of that. So
yeah.
We're just going to do our thing, and hey, fungus zombies, too.
Yeah. Glenn Livett, 12 years old.
Fungies?
Was it that word? Oh, man. Awesome. Well, that's exciting. Moving on to our final nugget / news. The Oscar nominees are out as of, you said yesterday?
I think it was today.
As of today, as of this actual recording. So last week.
As of January 25th.
So. Yeah.
As of January 25th, which is a Wednesday, which Anthony and I intend to release as an episode Friday, which will be released on Tuesday.
Most likely. Yep, that tracks. So looking at this list, I've got the best picture list in front of me. And
was there a way to sort it, or did you just jump to
that? I just searched Oscar nominations and let Google do the heavy lifting.
Oh, because I'm on the Oscars.org, and if you would
like... that's probably a better way to do it. Let's do that.
So I'll start. Actor in a leading role.
Okay.
Nominees: Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin.
I guess I have to watch Elvis.
Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for Aftersun, and Bill Nighy for Living.
I like him.
Oh, yeah. Bill Nighy's great. I didn't know that about his story until somewhat recently, and I still only know it in brief, but apparently he had kind of considered leaving acting until Love Actually kind of relaunched / honestly launched in earnest for the first time his career.
I sing that stupid song more times a day than anybody should.
Which one? Oh, wait, really? The one he plays in the movie?
I feel it in my fingers. And I just walk around the house singing it. But yeah. I've been wanting to watch The Whale anyway, and I love Brendan Fraser, so I'm excited to watch that.
I mean, I suspect, based on what I've heard, that he'll probably win it for this, but...
it seems that way. It's almost like it's his renaissance. It seems like what was it? Was it Renee Zellweger when she came back and won an Oscar? Like, it just feels like that kind of thing.
Yeah. I have heard that that's a very dark and depressing movie, but I still would like to see it for him. The one I've been really intrigued by is The Banshees of Inisherin. So,
same. That's on something right now, isn't it? Is that HBO or Netflix? It's available somewhere.
I think so. I think it might be on HBO. So I think I saw it when I went to fire up The Last of Us.
Word.
I had heard of 4 of these movies. I had not heard of the Bill Nighy vehicle, so
nice.
It is on HBO.
Moving on, we have actor in a supporting role. We've got Brendan Gleeson in The Banshees of Inisherin. Is that how you say it?
Sure. That's how I've been saying it.
Brian Tyree Henry in Causeway. That's an Apple TV show, a TV movie.
I've been confused by that. I saw he was nominated, but I wasn't sure what it was for. I know he's in that thing with Jennifer Lawrence, but I didn't know if that was a movie or a show.
I am guessing based on this, then it's a movie, but I believe it's on Apple TV.
It is a movie, and it is on Apple TV.
All right, cool. He's great. So
yeah, we just got to talk about him a couple weeks ago with Bullet Train.
He's definitely not a diesel.
No.
But I'll be down to watch that. We've got Judd Hirsch in The Fabelmans. We've got Barry Keoghan.
Sure.
That's Druid, right? Druid?
Yes. Druid sucks.
Druid sucks.
I had heard his name pronounced the other day, and I did not retain it. Because I've always been curious how it's pronounced as well.
And we have Kei Hu Kwang from Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, which we've been wanting to see anyway. Yeah, Short Round. So that's... Dude, that... whatever award it was that he won the other day, and that speech, it was just so heartwarming.
I've really appreciated how much he seems to have appreciated everything that's been going on since this movie came out, and even just getting back into acting for real with that movie. So I hope that whether or not he wins that, I hope that this spawns a renaissance for him in his career, because he basically didn't act for 30 years or whatever.
I think I might have to elevate that to the top of my list, though, because I really want to make sure that I see that before.
Yeah, I've really wanted to see it for a while. I just haven't gotten around to it. Same. It's just been other stuff that's taken priority.
Is that streaming anywhere?
I'm pretty sure. Is it on Netflix, maybe?
No, well, that'd be great. All right. You want to lead us into actress in a leading role?
Actress in a leading role, Cate Blanchett for Tar.
Shocker.
Yeah, right?
Perpetually and Michelle Williams.
For The Fabelmans, yes. Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie. I've never heard of that person nor that movie. Anna de Armas for Blonde. And Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is streaming on Showtime.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I have not heard of Blonde. I feel like I've heard of To Leslie, but I don't recall what it was. And I don't think I've heard of Tar either, or Terror.
I've heard about Tar. She plays a conductor of like, an orchestra, but like in present day.
God, I really wish you said that she plays the conductor of like, a train. It's Bullet Train too.
Yeah, no. No, but she is, I've heard that she's great. I've heard that movie is kind of a tough watch. It's not probably what one would expect it to be about exactly, from what I know. But I don't want to spoil it too much. Everyone should go into most of these movies as fresh as they can.
Yeah. All right.
Actress
in the supporting role. We've got Angela Bassett for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Did the movie did it always have Black Panther in front of the name of the movie? I thought it was just Wakanda Forever.
I'm pretty sure it's always had Black Panther in front of it.
Okay, anyway. Angela Bassett for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Hong Chow for The Whale.
Wasn't she just in the menu last week? Wasn't that her?
Oh, I think so. Kerry Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin. Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once. There's so many people in this movie.
I did not know until I saw this that she was even in that movie.
And Stephanie Su. I apologize. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, but Everything
I'm going to assume
Everywhere All
that's
Once.
correct.
Cool.
Well, we definitely need to watch this movie to check all the boxes of how many different nominations it has. So
right, like at least we could root for somebody in all of these categories if we watch one singular movie, which is awesome.
I mean, I definitely try and prioritize stuff like that, where it's like, oh,
yeah,
it's nominated for 15 categories.
You got to cast the wider net.
Yeah, definitely. I try to start that way and then move because, something like To Leslie, which I've never heard of before, and has one nomination. Realistically, I'm probably not going to get to that one. But something like Everything Everywhere All at Once, that's nominated for a whole bunch of things, or like The Fabelmans, which is nominated for a bunch of things. Those Banshees of Inisherin, like those are things that I will more likely get to.
Yeah, sure, cool. Well, what do we got next? Animated feature film.
Yes, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
Yeah,
Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Puss in Boots. The Last Wish. What?
What was that previous one? Marcel the Shell with shoes on?
Yes, correct.
I like that.
It's about a shoe. It's about a shell with shoes. The Sea Beast and Turning Red, which is your obligatory Disney Pixar.
Sure. Puss in Boots, I've heard really great things about, so I'm going to try to see that one before.
Which is shocking to me because, I feel like Shrek has not been a thing that's super relevant for at least a decade.
Sure.
And for this to come out now and actually be good is kind of surprising.
I just love the ridiculousness of that character.
It's pretty ridiculous. It's definitely a take.
Yeah, for sure. For cinematography, we have All Quiet on the Western Front. James Friend?
I've heard good things about that movie. It is in German. It's a German movie.
Sure.
Daniel Bruhl plays a fairly important role.
That's a name I know. Who is that?
Yeah, he's been in a lot of things that we've seen. He was Baron Zemo in the MCU.
Oh, of course. Yep. Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
Okay. That was Darius Kondaji. We've got Elvis, Mandy Walker, Empire of Light, Roger Deakins, and is it Tar?
Yes.
Tar. Florian Hofmeister.
Roger Deakins, is he the one that's worked with Nolan a lot? What do I know his
name? The name sounds familiar.
Right?
But
I don't remember what I know that name, why I know that name.
All right. Next up.
Sorry, I'm looking at Roger Deakins. He is best known for his work on films of the Coen brothers, Sam Mendes, and Denis Villeneuve.
Oh, okay.
I knew it was someone who had done a lot of big movies.
Yeah.
Blade Runner 2049, Skyfall, 1917. I think I knew him from 1917. That's what I think.
I hear
that's
that
why I knew.
Okay, fair enough.
Costume design, Babylon, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
No, nothing against the people actually nominated, but Al and I do not know this category very well and would not recognize any of the names.
No. I do appreciate that we have a Marcel the Shell with Shoes On and also a Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris in this.
This year's Academy Awards is presented by Dr. Seuss. Amazing. All right. We've got directing up next. We've got The Banshees of Inisherin, Martin McDonagh. Everything Everywhere All at Once, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert. We've got The Fabelmans, Steven Spielberg, Tar, Todd Field, Triangles of Sadness, Ruben Ostlund. Triangle of Sadness. I don't like the title of that at all.
I've heard of this one, but I don't remember why or where. What is that movie?
Let's find out.
Triangle of Sadness. A fashion model celebrity couple join an eventful cruise for the super rich. Oh, that's why I heard about it, because I read an article in which this was put up alongside of the menu for being a takedown of, like, super rich culture.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Documentary feature film. All That Breathes, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, Fire of Love, A House Made of Splinters. Oh, that sounds terrifying. And Navalny. Naval New York.
Naval NY.
We've got documentary short film, The Elephant Whisperers. Haul Out, How Do You Measure a Year? The Martha Mitchell Effect, and Stranger at the Gate.
I gotta be honest, I'm never big on the documentary categories. I never make the time, really, to watch documentaries. I probably should more, and I don't.
Same. Film editing, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Tar, and Top Gun Maverick. Timing. International feature film, All Quiet on the Western Front, which I'm going to guess is going to do that thing where it wins because it's also nominated in other categories. Argentina 1985, Close, EO, and The Quiet Girl.
I've heard of Argentina 1985, but that's the only other one in this category I've heard of.
Got makeup and hairstyle, All Quiet on the Western Front. The Batman. That's some pretty good costumes in there. Black Panther Wakanda Forever. That should probably win.
This is
the Whale.
Not costume.
The Whale.
Yeah, that's probably going to win, right?
Yeah.
Although Elvis probably give it a run.
It could. Music, original score. We've got All Quiet on the Western Front, Babylon, The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and The Fabelmans.
This is just making me so excited for Flix and a Whisk.
Oh, yeah. Same. Music, original song. We have Applause, Hold My Hand, Lift Me Up.
Hang on a second. Yeah. Can we give the movies that they're from?
Sure. Applause from Tell It Like a Woman, Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick, Lift Me Up from Black Panther, Natu from RRR.
I also want to see that one. That's that Bollywood movie. I think I might have mentioned.
Oh, that's the one that you mentioned last week. Okay, cool. This is a Life from Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And now, wait a minute. So I'm surprised this is next, and then there's other stuff. Is it alphabetical? It is. Best Picture. All Quiet on the Western Front. Avatar, The Way of Water. The Banshees of Inisherin. Elvis, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. The Fabelmans. Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, Women Talking. I am already concerned that Tar, just by your description of what the movie is this year's Power of the Dog. Like, is this going to be the movie that I'm like, why am I watching this?
Probably.
Okay, I'm going to save that one for the end. Triangle of Sadness is Roma, Tar, and no, it's these three.
Yes, it's the Phantom Thread. It's the Power of the Dog and Roma. Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah, I'm in a bad spot with this where I've only seen one of these movies, but I'll make some progress. Product design: All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon, Elvis, and The Fabelman. Short film, sound. Let's look at sound. All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: Way of Water, The Batman, Elvis, and Top Gun. I feel like Top Gun Maverick is, maybe Avatar. I haven't seen that yet, but like Top Gun does a lot of stuff with sound design. So I feel like Batman was pretty good too, but I feel like not as.
I feel like sneaky. This will be the only thing that Elvis wins.
The Visual effects, we've got all. Oh, I mean, it's got to be Avatar, right?
The blue and green people look like blue and green people.
Yeah, exactly. I hope that's what they say when they give the award out. It's actually when they do the nominees and they play clips of people talking about the movie. It's actually a clip of our show. With you saying that. Anthony, they did it again. All right, we've got writing, adapted screenplay, All Quiet on the Western Front, Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery. I'm very happy that that's getting a nomination.
How is that adapted screenplay? What is that adapted?
Huh.
Also, what is Top Gun Maverick adapted?
Now I'm confused. Now I'm confused about what this category
All
means.
Quiet on the Western Front is adapting a famous book that has been made into like 3 different movies. I don't know what Living is.
Is there something about it being a sequel that qualifies it for this category?
I didn't think that's how that worked, but maybe
I didn't think so either. But I can't imagine that. Well, maybe was Top Gun Maverick a book?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I know that what's his name, Michael Mann, wrote a book that was Heat 2 that he is intending to make into a movie, and so that movie, were it to be nominated, would be eligible for this category. But I am very confused by this.
Huh.
I'm sure we're just showing our ass on this, but like...
Yeah, well, now I need to know what qualifies. You keep going. I'm going to get to the bottom of this.
Well, so the one thing I'll say is, if you look on this, Top Gun Maverick says screenplay by Aaron Kruger, Eric Warren Singer, and Chris McQuarrie, story by Peter Craig and Justin Marks. If that one were to make the argument that these 2 guys came up with a story idea, pitched it, and then the 3 of them wrote a movie based on that, fair enough. But even that's a bit tenuous to me. And considering Rian Johnson wrote and directed the original Knives Out, and then wrote and directed this, and doesn't give any story credit to anyone else, I'm a little confused by it. Not that I object to Rian Johnson being nominated for anything. We liked the movie. I'm just confused. This doesn't seem to be eligible for this category based on our admittedly limited knowledge of how the Academy operates.
All sequels are automatically considered adaptations.
That's stupid.
Academy Award for
This is why people don't like you, Academy of Motion Picture Sciences.
All adaptations must be based from another source.
That's stupid.
If it was previously produced or published in any form, it's considered an adaptation. Okay, so they just consider sequels to be adapted screenplays. Interesting.
I'm going to give it hourly stupid on this show.
Yeah. That's annoying. Anyway, writing for original screenplay, The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. That's the entire list. That's all of the things that are nominated. Well, we did skip over 2 categories, but we were just trying to make
short film stuff. So
nothing. Hey, to be clear, nothing against them. It's just not of interest to us, and this show is all about our interests.
Yes. This is Sunday, March 12th. So
I'll see you then, or I will see you on another time.
Yes, we will gather. I'll take the 13th off. We will order a chimichanga or a burrito or whatever from that place.
But honey, I'm in the mood for a chimichanga.
From that place you're talking about, loving, and being way better than it has any right to be when it's delivered. We'll have to plan working backwards from that when we're going to record Flix and a Whisk, because that gives us basically, 6 weeks to do that.
I mean, clearly we'll just record it that following Wednesday.
Well, no, usually Flix and a Whisk is our pre-show.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, we could do it the other way, but typically it's tended to be our pre.
Is it really? Show. For whatever reason, I thought Flix and a Whisk was its own thing. Oh, I see what you're saying. Pre-Oscar show.
It's usually it's usually what we think's going to happen / what we would.
Gotcha. I think we should probably do it. Our goal should be to do it the Wednesday before the Oscars and release it the Friday before the Oscars.
Which will be the Tuesday after the Oscars.
It's going to be tight. It's going to be a tight deadline, tight turnaround time for me, but I'm going to make it happen. I'll make it happen. We'll get it out there. Flix and a Whisk.
This time, we have enough time to plan it out now. We should try to get the same whiskey.
We should try to get the same whiskey. We should also try to see most of the movies.
Yes, 2 things that we always say we're going to do and rarely do.
I mean, we can kill 2 birds with one stone. We could see a bunch of these movies and then have the next few weeks of movies lined up.
No, you're making things too complicated. Okay, I'm saying it right now. Let's just fucking do Everything Everywhere All at Once next week, unless you see Avatar.
Done.
And then we'll do that. Either way, we're killing the birds. So many birds. A flock of birds will be dead at our feet. Just as many stones. Sorry, half the stones will be at our feet.
But you know what, Al? I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. I saw no blue and green people. Anthony, you watched the wrong movie.
Also, there was triangles? I don't know.
It was very sad.
Also, the screen looked like it was smudged in tar. I don't get it.
I feel like we just wrote the intro for the Oscars.
Yeah, who's hosting it this year?
I don't know. Let's find out. Is it going to have a host? Or are they going to pretend that they don't need one, which is false?
That was not great that time.
The Oscars 2023. Jimmy Kimmel's back.
Really?
I'll take that. That's provided that the Google search actually yielded the appropriate result, like, immediately. The 95th Academy Awards, hosted by Jimmy Kimmel, will air on March 12th. Sweet. I like Jimmy Kimmel. He's funny. I say that. I feel like you can't actually say that out loud about anybody famous because you're bound to then something terrible to happen. Please don't.
I mean,
Please don't do this to us, Jimmy.
If he hasn't been canceled yet for the Man Show, which has existed.
Sure. That's a good point.
Zeitgeist for the last 20 years. It's been right there if anyone wants to cancel him. So
That's fair. All right, sweet. Let us get into some consumption. What are you consuming? Nailed it. Nailed that prompt.
So I have been consuming at a slightly more accelerated rate from what it had been, because that rate was pretty damn slow. For All Mankind. Watched a few episodes across the last week or so. Still really enjoying that show. I think I can officially recommend, if you and Kim are looking for a show to watch, I think you guys, there's no reason why the two of you couldn't enjoy that show together. It's a cool show, cool story idea.
Cool.
It's a nice big ensemble cast.
It's got that guy I don't like.
Well, I was going to say it's got that guy I'm not a huge fan of, and he's been relatively inoffensive to me in this show.
I can't remember his name. So
Joel Kinnaman?
That's the one. I like his face.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Sorry.
He's always kind of annoyed me as well, but
yeah,
I'm almost done with the.
You know what it is? I feel like his first introduction, he played an asshole for me, and but I also didn't like him, so it just kind of compounded it. I feel like I probably dislike him more than I should.
I mean, his face is definitely part of it. But yeah, I don't know. The first couple of roles, I wasn't a big fan of him. I didn't think much of his acting. He has offended me less as time gone on. I still don't think he's a great actor, but I think he's fine.
Okay.
I started to turn for me where I actually enjoyed him in the first season of Altered Carbon. That was the first time where I was like, okay, I don't want to punch your face quite so much.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Sweet. And so, but you recommend, is that you're done with the first season? I'm sorry.
I think I'm I'm like halfway through the second to last episode of the first season. So.
Okay. And there's 2?
There are 3 seasons. The third season aired in 2022.
Wow. Very cool. All right. Sweet. So it's been going strong. You had mentioned that you've been watching, I guess you played a lot of catch up. You watched a bunch of it. I did something very similar the other night. I watched the 4 remaining episodes that I had of Rings of Power in a row.
Yes, you mentioned that to me.
Yeah.
But I think you mentioned it last week on the show.
I don't think so.
Or maybe it was when we
were talking. Because I watched 2 at that point, and then I watched the remaining 4. Because I also, in that same night, I also watched most of Maverick.
Oh, okay.
So it was a
quite
lot
of
viewing.
Consumption.
It was gluttonous. It was a lot.
So you finished Rings of Power?
I finished it and I loved it. I thought it was so good. It was so good.
I really enjoyed it.
Kier, I have to ask a question about the show that is a spoiler.
Guys, spoilers for Rings of Power. It's been out for 6 months.
Yeah, okay. So skip ahead a couple minutes if you're really, really that, if you don't want anything. Okay, here we go. Ready? Spoilers for Rings of Power. Was it supposed to be a bigger reveal that he was Sauron?
Well, the way that the show was done, I thought pitted it as either the Wanderer or him was Sauron. I always assumed it was going to play out, where the Wanderer was Gandalf and he was Sauron, but
Right.
you certainly could go back and forth. They put those two things, and actually, to be fair, there was really a third candidate as well. Joseph Maul's character also could have been Sauron.
Who was that?
He was that half elf, half orc guy who was the leader of the orcs.
Oh, right. Of course.
So they did. It really wasn't a mystery box in that way, but they did it enough where if you didn't actually have a deep knowledge of Lord of the Rings, that maybe it would keep you guessing for a little while.
So in that case, I had a minor mishearing of what somebody said at one point. Okay. Where I thought that was the reveal, that it was him, long before they actually revealed who was Sauron. So when he's in that town, which I can't remember the name of anything, Lord of the Rings.
When the island on Numenor?
Numenor. When he steals the guild badge, and he's walking down, he's flipping it like a coin, and a couple of guys surround him, and they were like, who are you? And he says something along the lines of, he kind of like says it really quick before he attacks them. He's like, and then he says a word that sounds like one of the names that they said Sauron goes by many names. And I was like, oh, cool reveal. And then it wasn't actually a reveal. And I was like, but the whole time I'm like, wait, didn't he say that he was that guy?
I don't remember what he said then, so I'd have to.
So I must have just misheard something that led me to believe that it was him. And when the reveal came, I was like, yeah, wait. I knew this already, though, right? Like I was supposed to know this already.
Well, sure, but also it's meant to be a reveal for Galadriel because she sure shit didn't know.
She didn't know. But that was really spoilers over. That was really good. I had a lot of fun with it. Each episode was entertaining. I think it only comes to a screeching halt anytime Theo's on the screen. Absolute trash. Just a garbage character.
You sent me a screenshot of the IMDb, and you circled him and said, garbage actor.
Yes. I'm all for you.
The problem is it's a garbage character. And
it's a garbage character.
The acting doesn't... it's kind of like Hayden Christensen's not a good actor, but he isn't like the acting equivalent of Cancer.
Right.
But he's a terribly... Anakin Skywalker as a teenager is a pretty horrendously written character.
Yeah.
With poor direction and a mediocre actor. So it makes Hayden Christensen look like a terrible actor.
Yeah.
It didn't do him any favors. I suspect there's an element of this here. I do think he's even less of an actor than Hayden Christensen is, but you're meant to be pissed off by that character, and they succeed, but just probably for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. It's just like, when we were like, oh, we're going to go off on a little tangent with you and Galadriel, I'm like, can we not, though? Can anybody else be here instead? Anybody else? Anybody? One of the orcs. Anybody. One of the orcs. Oh, man. That was, but it was really good. I mean, I also thought there was a lot of great characters.
Shitty Isildur.
Shitty Isildur. He actually didn't bother me so much.
Well, in comparison to Theo...
Yeah,
he's not that bad, but on the Numenor only episodes, or where Theo wasn't on screen at all in an episode, he's by far the worst character.
Also, there's a lot of smoldering that goes on in this show.
Looks?
Yeah, not just the lava, but the looks. Like we've got smoldering elf, right? And then
wait, sorry, we've got who exactly is Smoldering Elf?
The 200-year-old one that's been stationed in the town.
So we've transitioned from the Wandering Earth to the Smoldering Elf.
Smoldering Elf. Well,
in addition to Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris and Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
But he was a great character, and I don't know his name.
Arondir?
Sure, I really liked him. I feel like there was so much story behind his eyes that slowly comes through, even if they don't tell you all of it.
Well, they don't let him speak very often, so it'd have to come through his eyes, I guess.
Yeah, but yeah, we have him. We've got him smoldering. Then we have Shitty Isildur's father smoldering, which I feel like he's doing his best.
His name's Elendil. Well, Elendil is a fairly important character as well, like, in the lore. Like, he's the one who dies, and then Isildur cuts Sauron's ring. Like, that's Elendil.
Okay.
He is an important character.
But
so
I feel
we should endeavor to know his name.
He's doing a performance that's very evocative of Jesus of Nazareth. Like, I feel like there's little to no blinking.
No, he just looks like Jesus of Nazareth.
But it's not just the look, though. I feel like it's the lack of blinking. You know that whole thing, right? Where he didn't blink he's not blinking the entire movie.
In which one?
Jesus of Nazareth.
I don't know if I saw that one.
Okay, doesn't blink.
Who's Jesus of Nazareth?
14-hour long movie, doesn't blink.
who is Jesus of Nazareth in Jesus of Nazareth?
Let me find
Is that
out.
one of those old, like, Cecil B. DeMille-esque movies?
Yeah. Jesus.
Is that Peter O'Toole?
Nazareth,
or Charlton Heston? Charlton Heston?
It is Robert Powell.
Robert Powell. Okay.
It was 4 episodes, but it's a TV miniseries. 6 hours and 22 minutes.
When did it come out?
6 hours and 22 minutes. Came out in 1977. He doesn't blink.
Who made it?
The Lord.
Wow.
Who made it? Where are we? Top cast.
Director,
Sometimes, you know how bad?
producer.
Why am I so bad at this?
Writer.
Episodes, videos, photos, top cast. More like this storyline. Did you know? Why? Like, do I have to go into episodes? Maybe is that?
I mean, I don't think you
episodes?
have to. You're gonna make me help you out on this, aren't you?
I just don't understand why I have such a hard time with IMDb sometimes. I just feel like it's not laid out and there's like a shit ton of ads and stuff that makes it
I
even
also
more
don't
difficult.
know why you have such a hard time with this.
I'm going to go to individual.
Oh, Laurence
episodes.
Olivier was in it. Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking
Okay.
of.
Director, Franco Zeffirelli.
Oh, nice. Wait, a young
Episode
Ian
2.
McShane played Judas Iscariot in this?
Huh?
This had a fantastic cast. Laurence Olivier, Robert Powell was Jesus, James
James Earl
Mason,
Jones with Balthazar.
Ernest Borgnine, James Earl Jones, Stacy Keach,
Wow.
Christopher Plummer, King Harry.
Wow. This is an all-star cast.
No, I didn't know about the thing about him not blinking, though, to get back to
Yeah, it's it's a thing.
So that was one of the weirdest tangents we've ever taken.
Anyway, so Isildur's dad, Jesus of Nazareth, doesn't blink the entire the entire 8 episodes of.
Well, it must just be a Numenorian thing, because after a certain point, the queen doesn't blink either.
That's true. That's rough.
Spoilers.
That's rough. It's just how long until we clear the smoke? You jerking my chain? That's very much what it looks like. That sigh. It was like disgust. Anyway, it was really good.
Really,
I enjoyed it.
The strength of this show was by far the relationship between Elrond and Durin.
I would watch
a buddy
seasons
show of the two of them?
that show. Yeah, absolutely. What an arc!
Yeah,
that the character has. What is Durin, son of Durin?
Durin.
Durin.
He's Durin 4, right?
I think so.
Really, I mean, he really stood out. I mean, he got a couple of big emotional moments, but that first time they actually sit down and have a heart-to-heart,
yeah,
he says, "You missed my entire life. You're my friend,
mm-hmm.
and you missed my entire life because you guys don't tell time so well. Like, fuck you, man."
Yeah, that's so good. But you know what? I love that, like, the way that they did it with, like, so Elrond and Durin, and like that whole relationship, the struggle there, like, you know, because of kind of a misunderstanding with the time, which is what you're. But then, like, to bring Durin's wife into the fold and like them to become acquainted, to like Elrond and her to become acquainted as well, and like the friendship to grow strong. Like, it was so charming. The whole thing was so charming, and like I just thought they did an incredible job, and the acting was standout with those characters.
Yeah,
and Galadriel.
Yeah.
They all act like all the people that like need to carry a lot of weight, like, did a tremendous job.
The less said about the Harfoot storylines overall, the better. I understand what they were going for, and certainly it has its own import on the story in introducing the Wanderer and trying to reflect again the idea of historically, even back to the books, and then obviously through the movies, that the viewers engage with the story through the eyes of whether it be the Hobbits or the Harfoots. Like, there's a true element to all that. But especially early on in the show, it's so unbalanced how much screen time they get with so little impact.
It is,
that is unquestionably a detriment. Not to say there's nothing good that comes out of that storyline and those performances and characterization, all that. Like, there is good. Just the juice wasn't quite worth the squeeze on what they gave us with all of that. But that whole sequence in the final episode was really strong, I thought, with them. So
I agree. Looking forward to however much more of this they do.
I mean, they're planned 5 seasons. They're certainly going to do a second.
I just hope that they are able to, whatever they do, I hope that they finish out their story versus get that, I don't know, shelved at some point.
I appreciate intellectually the sunk cost fallacy. I don't think this is one that applies. I would like to see them get at least 3 seasons. I think even if they decide, okay, well, maybe 5 was too much, there's a story that you can effectively execute in 3 seasons, I think, within this.
Sure.
And, by all accounts, I know there was a lot of speculation because it took Amazon so long to announce what the viewership numbers were, but when they finally did, they were really strong. So
it's been too quiet for too long, though. Like, I feel like I have heard nothing.
Well, it was really quiet for a while, and then they finally were like, yeah, this is like pretty much the most watched thing we've ever had. So it's just like the production is going to take so long. Like, we're not getting the next season this year. I guess there's even a chance we don't get it next year, but I would suspect it'll be out like Q3, Q4 of 2024.
Likely be released in 2024. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I will look forward to that. What else are you watching or consuming?
I had another lovely weekend of playoff football. Got to hang out with a couple of my buddies, watched games on Saturday. Missed one of the games Sunday for baptism I mentioned a few weeks ago. My new godson, Rowan. He's a cute little lad.
Congrats.
He's got a very round face, very chubby cheeks. So that was cool. That was a fun day. And, but still, of the 3 games I got to see, generally a good time. So,
awesome.
Unfortunately, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, this is the best of the football, but it also signals that there is very little football left for like 8 months after this. So,
sure,
bittersweet.
Sure. I think I had mentioned last week we started watching Abbott Elementary, and we finished the first season. We were watching it on HBO. I had no idea where the show actually aired. I thought it was just an HBO show because I was watching it there. It is not.
Isn't it like NBC or?
I think it's ABC. Because it turns out there is an entire second season that was also available, which we watched all of. It's not all of it, though. It looks like it might be like a split season type thing.
Oh, was it? I didn't know about that.
Yeah, well, we finished it, and it was like, that didn't really feel like a season finale. And then it was like, the next episode is like somewhere in February. So it was like, oh, okay, so it's not really over. But laugh out loud fun. Like, really, just really good. It's just it's like very light. It's very entertaining. It's 30 minutes. It's got very wonderful Parks and Rec vibes, as we talked about last week. Like, it's exactly like I needed a show like that, and I haven't had one in a minute that I hadn't seen already. Of the rewatches of shows like that I did. Yeah. But like, it was Kim and I are constantly laughing out loud at this one, and it's very good. I think you would enjoy.
All right.
What else are you consuming? What do you got? Back to you.
The only other thing I have is I finally got to get a couple of really good listening days to Foundation's Edge, the book that I'm on in the series, second to last in the series. Really good. I think so far, I'm probably around 40% of the way through it. I would say this has probably been my favorite one so far since the first one, chronologically, the first prequel. I've really, really enjoyed this one. It's cool. The way it's taking place is basically they've been alternating chapters between a couple of main characters. It's basically centralized around one main character who has at least 1 or 2 people in their orbit on these 2 different factions that maybe they're against each other. Maybe they ultimately have the same goals and don't know it yet. It's gonna wait to see how that all plays out. But I've really appreciated how this one has unfolded so far, and
Nice.
A lot of what they've got out. Even though a lot of it is just a couple of people, 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 people talking, it's still pretty damn entertaining and engaging.
I'm a sucker for good dialogue, so
yeah,
that's
which ultimately like is what a lot of like the best books are. Like you're gonna get some like prosy like background on stuff for lore or describing environment or a setting, but then you get some really hardcore dialogue between everyone, and if you get a little pocket of action here and there, that's great too. But great dialogue, it's always a good way to go.
Nice. I on the reading front, wait,
are you doing it again?
Yeah, I've been making slow but steady progress. So I picked back up Ashes of the Sun, which I think I had mentioned a while back. For whatever reason, I have been able to go on lengthy hiatuses between reading it and pick back up and feel like I haven't put it down because I've been thinking about where I left off with it, like ever since I put it down, because it's been very engaging.
Is that the one about like the fantasy setting brother and sister situation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very good. I'm really, really enjoying it. It's like so clearly, there's like these two storylines. The chapters hand off back and forth between the brother and the sister storyline, and it's so clear that they're on this collision course towards each other, and like I don't know what that's gonna be like when we get there because it's been so many years since they've been in contact with each other. So like I'm really curious to see where it goes. It's fun. It's like exciting, just great settings, like great descriptions. The characters are enjoyable. It's pacing wise, it's kept my interest, which says a lot, I feel like. So I'm happy with that. But my pattern has been, all right, I'm going to try to read a little bit of this, go into bed a little bit earlier, sit down, put my light on, read until I can't really read anymore. Hopefully get to a decent stopping point, close the book. Generally find that I'm not quite ready to fall asleep, but I don't want to do something. Mm-hmm. Then I put the headphones in and I continue Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh, okay.
So, granted, the dreams that I've been having, very bizarre.
Also,
crossover events.
all narrated by Andy Serkis for some reason.
That's right. Oh, of course. Actually, Gollum.
Oh.
But both of those, obviously, very, very enjoyable. It's been a very, very, very long time since I've read The Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
And like so much so that it's like... I remember in great detail the movies far more, and like
understandable,
and obviously they're phenomenal adaptations. So like I find myself just picturing scenes from the movie as I'm going through the book, but I'm okay with that too because it's like I'm also like ready to watch them again. So
me too. I've been thinking about it, and they're definitely not going to get to it till football season's over. So it's
going to be a while. So it's been good, and then of course we've both been watching The Last of Us. But we'll get to that after.
We'll get to the last word on The Last of Us for sure.
I have one more thing for consumption.
Okay.
Chicken thighs.
It's a good thing to consume.
So, earlier today, we had a wonderful dinner. Ate far too much. But I pan-fried chicken thighs in some light seasoning in butter.
Mm-hmm.
High heat, 5 minutes, one side down. Flipped them over, lower the heat, cook them till they're done.
Okay.
They were crispy on the outside. They were tremendously juicy on the inside.
That's the way to do it.
Put them aside.
Baking chicken, honestly, if you don't really marinate it, baking chicken is the easiest way to do it. It's also definitively the worst way to do
it. Yep. Don't bake it. Not worth it. Eat something else. But made a gravy after the drippings. Delicious. Had some frozen portions of stuffing from Thanksgiving or Christmas or something. So defrosted those.
Okay.
Little garlic steamed broccoli.
Nice.
Dude.
Garlic steamed, not sauteed?
No, steamed.
Okay.
So, well, actually, pressure cooked.
Oh.
Yeah, because it's fast and the broccoli was frozen and I didn't have the time to thaw it. So I throw it in there, put the seasonings on it, put the pressure cooker on for 2 minutes, and they're done. And it's like, it's a little bit on it's definitely on the softer side, which I don't mind with broccoli actually. And like when all of this came together as this big just honkin' mush, it was so good. Ate way too much of that. Anyway, that was the actual consumption.
Because I like to kind of steam, remove, saute garlic and hot pepper, throw broccoli back in, toss it up, give it a quick sear, serve it that way. To me, that's the optimal broccoli delivery system.
That's excellent. That'll be, it's far more steps than I was looking for today. But the other option is I do like doing all of those toppings, but just a straight up roast of the broccoli. Delicious as well. When you're in a pinch, though, that pressure cooker, man, love it. Love it. So you look at the little grid. I've got a little fold out cardboard thing. It tells you how long it takes to cook something. The highest it's ever going to say is like 4 minutes, and it's just wonderful. It's like this is what I need. It kind of reminds me of The Fifth Element when she puts the little pill in the microwave and goes chicken, and a whole roast comes out.
Wait, no, not even a pill. Doesn't she? She literally grabs like a little bottle of seasoning and shakes it into a bowl. Something and it comes out as a whole roast chicken.
It's the future. That's the. I'm done with
Dallas multipass.
He knows it's a multipass. Do you have anything else?
I am done with consumption.
Well, with that, I believe it's time for our flick of the week. Top Gun Maverick, released in 2022, rated PG-13 with a 2-hour and 10-minute runtime. After 30 years, Maverick is still pushing the envelope as a top naval aviator, but must confront ghosts of his past when he leads Top Gun's elite graduates on a mission that demands the ultimate sacrifice from those chosen to fly it.
Yeah.
Yeah, demands the ultimate... It's a little misleading.
Requests the ultimate sacrifice.
High likelihood that it is demanding the ultimate sacrifice.
Also, I like the idea of doing another Top Gun 30 years from now. And having the synopsis be 30 years after he was continuing to push the envelope, he's now pushing up daisies. But his son and his godson take up his mantle.
But it still has to start with the same exact title card, like the explanation of what Top Gun is, just for those who want to know.
So. The funny thing was, I watched it the second time. I saw it in theaters during the summers, obviously several months ago. And the other day, it must have been because like everyone, there was a higher degree of people talking about the movie again online because it's just fairly recently been put back on Paramount Plus. Mm-hmm. And I saw someone say, "Oh, I really appreciate how this title card is very similar to the way that the Mass Effect games start." So when I was watching this, I saw the title card and I remember it because it's the second time I've seen the movie. I think I needed to see it again after the first several months of seeing it in the theater. And when I had seen something the other day online mentioning it as well, and I think it's just because everyone's seeing it it's newly on Paramount Plus, and someone said, "Hey, I really appreciate how the title card leading into this movie looks the same, basically the similar concept to how the title card leading into the Mass Effect games was." And one of the writers or directors from the Mass Effect games said, "I think you're the first person that I personally have seen make this connection. That was deliberate. We were actively doing an homage to those, or at
we
least
were doing a Top Gun,
or we really liked that, like." From having seen that in Top Gun, whether or not we were like intentionally doing an homage, we're like, "Ooh, we liked how that did it. Let's do that to all of our games." So I thought that was kind of funny that it's been awesome. All these years since those games came out, and I've followed a bunch of the people who've been involved with the making of those games for a long time. I've never heard anyone say that. I guess to me, I just assumed there have been other movies that have done some version of a title card, but even the way it's delivered, where it's like kind of like it punches it in like rows, has a little bit of music going, and it kind of crescendos into it as it goes. And like, and specifically ends with like the fact that, like, you know, in the way that the Mass Effect title card goes, it's like the people of the galaxy have made use of the special properties of Element Zero. Most people call this the Mass Effect, and then it does title card Mass Effect, and then plays into what's going to happen, like literally plays into. Same thing with this. Most people refer to this as Top Gun, and then you get the music and it's Top Gun, right? Like that.
Yeah.
They're like the beats of all of that being so similar, and that was intentional. I think that is really cool, and to hear them say that, with a nod of appreciation, I enjoyed as a little anecdote.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. Why don't you hit us with your hot take?
An old school action movie with a new coat of paint, a fun time, and exactly what the movie theater was made for. 7.5 out of 10.
Nice. A wonderfully executed requel that tells its own well-structured story and pays homage to its origin, all while elevating its predecessor in the process.
Okay.
I really, really enjoyed my time with the movie. I thought it was great. This was, and to your point of like, this is a movie theater movie. Like, I set myself up right down here in the dark, like volume up, surround sound tuned, movie on. Really got into it.
Yeah,
and it was just so much fun. And look, I've talked about this before. I don't know. Did we do the original Top Gun a ways back? I don't even remember.
No, because I've never seen it start to finish.
Okay, so like, this movie made me like weirdly nostalgic for a movie that I don't actually have any nostalgia for. Like, it's like Top Gun is not very good. It's fun, but it's not a good movie.
You don't enjoy playing with the boys?
This one's a good movie. What'd you say?
I said you don't enjoy playing with the boys.
Playing with the boys. This one is good, but like, funny enough, it needs the groundwork laid by the first one to be as good as it is.
I have seen enough of the first one to get like a gist for what it's all about, and like like this takes all that. It's like, okay, like we like this part of it, we like that part of it. That was too ridiculous. Maybe there isn't actually a plot to this movie. Let's at least give a tacit nod to the fact that plot is required, even if it's not going to be a brilliant and ingenious plot. There needs to be some inciting incident that leads to an arc for the story. Plot writing 101 shit, maybe even remedial plot writing, is required to have a movie. But let's just mostly have a bunch of people doing cool shit. Maybe we'll have a smidge of character development. We're going to play some cool music. We're going to fly some fighter planes, zoom, pew, pew, all that fun shit. And it's like, okay, you can make a movie that way.
In the first one, like, it's it's cheesy, but not intentionally, I feel like. Whereas like this one, like, it's gonna hit some of the same beats and do some of the same cheesy, like, definitely like very macho nonsense. However, there is a very clear wink and a nod. It's not taking itself as serious, like as seriously in those moments. Yet at the same time, it has a much more interesting and grounded story to tell, like, within all of that stuff going on. I gotta say, going into the movie, I actually didn't know what it was going to be about at all. I hadn't really watched anything. I saw the teaser trailer. I don't even think I've seen like an actual full-on trailer for the movie.
Well, there was 47 different trailers because they released the teaser before the pandemic, and the pandemic pushed this way back.
Yeah.
It's like, actually, it was funny. I remember reading a story. I think I may even talked about it on the show, how, like, I think they did a story in The Ringer, like, guys, do you remember the teaser trailer and like the associated stuff with, I think it was the NFL playoffs in 2020, which was right before the Super Bowl happened, and then the world ended like 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
So like the world was almost kind of normal, at least in America at that time, and they were like, hey, this thing isn't actually going to come out quite yet, but like it's coming soon, and we're going to have Tom Cruise do some weird cross-promotional shit for his movie and the NFL playoffs, and then the movie came out like 2+ years after that.
That's crazy. That's so wild. But what a weird time.
Yeah.
Very bizarre time. But
some are saying that.
But ultimately, the storyline revolving around almost like this, kind of coming to grips with something that happened, letting go of the past a bit, like facing the fear I feel like that Maverick's had this whole time about kind of being face to face with Goose's son. I didn't know they were going this route with Goose's son. I had no idea. I didn't even know the character names before going in. So it was really fun to go in blind. And I was like, oh, I like what we're doing here. And I was like, my goodness, you look like you could be his son. Like, that was like,
what gave it away? The mustache and the shape of his head?
All of it. But it was I don't know, it was fun to watch. It was like, I feel like it would be so easy to dislike Tom Cruise, but he gets me every time with these movies. Like, he's a very convincing actor. And he has some of his mannerisms that come through in all of his performances that are a little bit, they're like just too Tom Cruisey. One of which being the way he runs.
Or the fact that he runs, because we got at least two incidences of it. And they waited a long time to show the first one, and the first one was, we're playing, well, it's certainly not football, but it's something that involves footballs. I also remember reading an article around the time the movie came out, like shortly after the movie came out, like trying to figure out what exactly the rules are, because there's no identifiable version of football that exists. Because there's two balls
team building
used to play, and both teams are both on offense and defense at the same time, which is not possible. So there's that. But
you're over here playing regular chess, they're playing 4D chess, dude. You just don't get it. That's all it is.
They're playing 4D soccer.
Football. Is that just what rugby is? I don't know.
No, because there's still only one ball.
I know.
But yeah, no, him just getting a chance to run shirtless on the beach, with his
doing Terminator, doing T-1000 hands.
I think I remember in Family Guy, Stewie made fun of him by calling it a weird pumpy armed run, because he pumps his arms too much,
and he also he's too vertical.
Yes.
He's just way too vertical.
And then we get to see him do it again later in the snow.
He runs chest first.
But he pumps his arms too much.
So much. Speaking of random weird things that happen in this movie, is there anything more I'm a man working on an engine than somebody using a socket wrench for way too long?
Someone using a way too long socket wrench for way too long?
For way too long.
The socket on that wrench was so long.
Granted, like, I get it. Like, having the long socket wrench can come in handy. Like, when you need it, it's invaluable.
But he wasn't using it for that thing. He had full access to the panel he was working in with his entirely too long socket wrench. You use that when you have to reach past something, and you can't, like, if he was reaching, under and past and around, like, the engine or something, because he can't get down there, and he had to use No, he's just holding it and doing it. If he didn't have that attachment, it would be so much easier for him to do what he was trying to do.
I think the best part about it is that bolt that he was tightening in the beginning of the movie, he's still tightening at the end of the movie, needs to take a breather, and needs Rooster to finish it for him.
Gooster.
Goose
and Rooster in one person. Gooster.
Talk to me, Gooster. It was. I like the whole reboot sequel thing of, like, we need you to know that he pushes the envelope and all this stuff, and, like, we're gonna have him fly this absurd plane. He's gonna get it off the ground even though he's not supposed to. He's going to go 10, and we're going to do the classic, you son of a bitch, when he goes 10.1.
Pushing the envelope. You're not supposed to do this at all, but you were supposed to do Mach 9, and you're going to do Mach 10 plus.
Yeah. I also like the idea that it exploded, and he was the spaceman in some foreign town. Just water. He walks into the diner. Sugar in water.
I did get a genuine chuckle out of Where Am I? Earth.
Earth. Pretty great. Classic fighter, like, movie where a plane goes down somewhere. I feel like it's a very similar thing happens in, like, 1,700 other movies, but it doesn't get old.
No, I like to believe that they directly did an homage to the scene in Rat Race when they get in the rocket car.
Yeah,
we came in a rocket car.
I love that movie so much. But yeah, anyway. So one of the I want to give a shout out to Jennifer Connelly's character, specifically because I'm watching the movie and I'm like, I know this character.
No,
But she wasn't in the first movie. How could I possibly know this character? Because the writing of the character and the performance were so good. Like they were, I fit in this universe. I was here the whole time and pulled it off. Like to the point where I was like, am I missing something? Like was this character played by somebody else? Like why does it feel? And then sure enough, I Google it and it's like 17 articles about how she fits perfectly in the universe but wasn't there.
She was the fourth Beetle that no one knew existed, but now misses that they were gone.
Yeah. I was.
Well, it also.
I mean, like to build that storyline was pretty great too.
It also got the great movie trope of this is a sequel that's taken place way too long past the original for there to be an actual sequel, and we're going to have a bunch of loving homages to the original one, and we're going to treat this like it's a loving homage, but actually we're going to exposition dump at you to explain how it wasn't actually an homage because this character wasn't in that movie, but we're going to act like she was, and that you should feel just the same natural warm glow of all the other things because she definitely totally was in this world, even though she definitely.
Right. What's funny is that you remove that storyline and the movie is exactly the same, but it fits so well. It really doesn't add anything to the story that they set out to tell.
It's mostly a plot device to get him to reflect and be a better mentor to Rooster and get past his own fears.
Sure.
Well, because the actual evolution of his relationship with Rooster and getting past the guilt of killing his father would have rung a bit hollow without those conversations about it with her, which is only like 30% of the screen time. So
yeah, but I feel like those conversations. I feel like we could have had that with Hondo. He also had a wonderful relationship with Hondo.
Yeah.
They could have been more of that too. Yeah, I'm just saying, like they didn't need to do it, but they did it, and it worked, and it was cool. It added runtime, which I was fine with. It's like it didn't slow down at all. It was just like it's just really funny to me. Like if you could trim the movie down probably, and like by cutting that entirely out and filling in those plot points with another character would have worked too. But like this made it feel like the original movie.
There was one thing that we got out of this other storyline with this character, and it was when I saw this movie in the theaters with my parents. It was with my parents and my brother. The other night, my family wanted to watch something, and they're like, "Oh, let's watch Top Gun." I was like, "Oh, actually, this is perfect because this is what we want to do. I don't have to find a way to like squeeze this in across the week because I'm probably just going to sit down and watch this movie at any other time." And so it was me and my parents and my sister watching it this time, and what we got out of this storyline was my sister going, "Tom Cruise, we do not need you in a sex scene right now."
Oh, that's great. God bless you, Jonah. But, Miles Teller is a good actor.
Sure.
I like him in most things that I've seen him in. He plays a very convincing, brooding character. He seems like he's got some stuff going on all the time.
Haunted Past?
Haunted Past. The Hangman is a dick, though.
What is it? Guess who's a broken man? Haunted Past. That's what it was.
That's it. Him and Hangman having their Iceman Maverick rivalry. Mm-hmm. And then of course, like it's literally like this is where that whole like reboot sequel thing goes, like literally like to a T. Then they help each other out.
Well, the great part about it is you get kind of a triangle of not sadness,
but
broness.
Broness.
Oh, wow. Perfect. Because you get Rooster and Hangman don't get along, and Rooster and Maverick don't get along, but Maverick and Hangman also don't get along. And
it's very Spider-Man pointing.
Yeah, and the resolution ends up that all three of them
get along,
get each other's back, and have growth and character development, right? Maverick learns how to be a mentor and let go. We are what they grow beyond, right? As Yoda would say.
Yeah, dude. in that final sequence where Hangman blows that advanced fighter jet out of the
fifth
sky,
generation fighter,
and it's like, and he goes, "I am good." I like involuntarily went, ugh. You're such a bro.
Well, he's such a bro, but the point is that he finally stopped being a shit, right? Because he was a shit.
Yeah.
Now he's just a bro, no longer a shit. But right, so you get Maverick, who becomes the mentor he never thought he could be. Rooster learns how to forgive and to actually unlock his full potential by not second guessing everything. And Hangman understands finally that there's an opportunity for him to still showcase his skill that his ego is so self-confident in without betraying the people that like there's a way to fit in and still showcase his skill set, right? So that core triangle, even though Hangman largely gets sidelined for the third act, he's a super important character to the story, and we get to see his own characterization as well. The resolution of all of that actually is pretty legitimately solid writing.
Yeah, it's you're not wrong. It's nice to be able to follow that character along and be compelled by it, even if he is a total ass.
I did appreciate his, like, when he first showed up in there, everyone's like has their relative dick measuring contest, and separately you have the Jennifer Connelly character taking Maverick to task, putting the tab on him, and Hangman coming over and fully maximizing that.
Yep, that was great, and you know the perfect. Oh, we don't know who we're actually dealing with scene when Maverick comes into the first lesson, and they're all like, "Oh," because they threw him out of the bar. I love that.
That was great. They also chanting overboard. Wasn't it like overboard or something like that?
Something like that. Yep.
And they just literally throw him out of the bar.
Oh, circling back to Haunted Past when he's looking through the window at Gooster playing the Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah.
I mean, it had to be done, right? I guess. So they nailed it. I will say, when they were introducing all the characters, and it was like Phoenix and Hangman and Payback and all these guys, and then we get Bob, and I was like, oh, Bob, and then I went, oh man, Bob's gonna die.
I also thought that Bob had a high degree chance of dying,
and it turns out that Bob just gets to accomplish nothing.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right, because he ends up just being in the jet whose laser targeting system doesn't work.
Deadeye.
That was brutal. Poor Bob.
Well, he also was in that plane crash and almost died.
Sure.
During the training
action. I loved when Maverick is grounded and John Hamm is now, he's like, oh, the parameters of this mission have changed. I was like, to you're dead now? Okay, because that was a very significant increase in time allotted. Dick. And then...
Well, that's why I said that, they requested the ultimate sacrifice, because he was going to make it a demand. Like, oh, you're going to die.
Yeah.
No, we can do this, and you'll only maybe die.
But to have all with the perfect setup for Maverick to just get out there and do the run himself. And I was like, this is the exciting, like, this is the very Top Gun-y thing that's happening right now. I love this. Like, he's like, oh, he's going to whip around the turns and everybody's going to be so excited. Like, this is great. Also,
it's fantastic that something can be so exhilarating when the stakes are so low. Like, he's just racing time and, like, opposition. He's not even flying in the actual canyon. He's not in any risk of getting shot down. He's not going to crash. And yet that sequence is pretty thrilling as he's... And it really comes down to cinematography, the way that they shoot it, where it's whipping back and forth. And how many of these effects were done practically? Because a lot of it is them actually... A lot of his movies with them shot in actual cockpits. Not to say they were actually flying the planes. Tom Cruise isn't actually flying that plane. An actual pilot is flying that plane. Right. And they're cutting, but the way that it was cut, it feels totally convincing that he's actually doing it. And you feel like you're in one of those 40 things where you're like rocking along back and forth in your chair while it's going on.
Oh, yeah. I absolutely was moving along.
You find yourself subconsciously leaning into the turns the way you would as if you were in the plane.
This movie definitely would have benefited from the gimmick of one of those 4D theaters.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just at the very end, it just chucks you out of the seat.
Like, I definitely would have thrown up on one of those, but like it would have felt authentic to the experience.
Yeah. I But yeah, you're right though. Like zero stakes. It's just like, can it be done? And you're on the edge of your seat, knowing full well that where the movie is going, it can be done. It's just not going to go well. And then it's just still, exhilarating was the right word. Like it's just like really fun to watch. I liked when we actually got into. It was also the perfect setup for like, well, now I guess I have to make you team leader since you strong armed me into this can be done. And I literally just announced we were changing the parameters of the mission.
He did like the weird, like Bizarro World version of failing upwards because he kept deliberately flouting orders and being rewarded for them. Not failing to comply, but succeeding massively and being promoted the way he should, despite the fact that every one of them wants to throw him in a prison cell.
Yep, especially John Hamm.
I don't know who hates him more, him or Ed Harris.
Oh, probably. I guess Ed Harris. I feel like John Hamm hates him, but he hasn't earned his hatred.
Well, I feel like Ed Harris hates him more, but also respected him much more.
Yeah, that's true. I did love. I think so. There's a couple of comical scenes in the movie, and one of my favorite ones being the hard deck is there for a reason. We don't change it without, right? It's like, from now on, no more changes without explicit consent from me. I want your plans in writing beforehand. What is this?
It's an extensive plan
to lower the hard deck, sir.
Lower the hard deck.
And Warlock afterwards on that scene, dude, you got to work on your timing. That was one that got a good chuckle out of me. The other one was...
Sorry, also just referring to him only as Warlock reminds me of Santa Claus is Coming to Town when the Winter Warlock is no longer evil. And he goes, just Warlock, please.
That was one particularly comical scene, followed by when Gooster ends up going to save Maverick and getting shot down, and Maverick goes, "You okay?" And he goes, "Yeah," and he just shoves him to the ground. That was really funny, only to be followed up by, "What were you thinking? You told me not to think." And then speechless. Maverick has no response to that because he's like, "Son of a bitch."
It was pretty perfect. Coming a week after we did the menu, in which he said, "Why aren't you eating? You told me not to eat."
You told me not to eat. That was great. I did like. It was funny because like you do know like. You know how movies work, right? So you're watching this, you're like, obviously, the mission is going to be 90% successful, and then then the rest of the movie is going to be like figuring out how to deal with this other 10%.
Well, the miracle was that they, even with the Deadeye, they were managed.
Which miracle?
They were. What's that?
Miracle 1 or Miracle 2?
Oh, well, the two miracles together, they were able to
bullseye in their T16.
Yes, exactly. Bullseye the Walrats in their T16. That there was no failure in that, but the failure came after. That was at least a subtle twist on the obvious. Let's call it generously an homage to Star Wars.
Dude, that effect of the ground imploding on itself was so cool.
Yes,
that was so cool. But yeah, then obviously it's gonna fall apart. And I was like, I feel like we're gonna have to go with an interesting chunk of this movie on foot, which is not very Top Gun. And then sure enough, that's what happened. And I was like, no, I mean, it wasn't a tremendous amount, but it was like they had to get back in the plane.
Also, again, legitimately thrilling, that sequence when they jump over the mountain and have to deal with the Sam thing, and watching them, you figure in a situation like that, it's going to be every man for himself, bug out and hope for the best. And to watch them try to work together to cover each other in a way that ultimately feels like doomed to all of them get shot down, and somehow almost none of them get shot down in that specific situation. And the incredibly clever use of flares by Maverick to save Gooster was pretty great. But yeah, and also another reflection of, what is the point of this? We only have 7 days until we have to do this thing. Whatever. You told me to build you a team, I'm building you a team. To see them all work in a team like that, especially when they were supposed to be split up to basically 2.5 teams, with one half the team being sidelined entirely, 2 teams that were supposed to work together for the deployment of the missiles, but then it's just try your best to get home. To watch the 4 of them work together like that, really cool.
That was awesome. It was so well choreographed. And I loved going over the fence and running towards, was it F-14? What was the
F-14?
F-14. But the concept, like, it was great. Like, it was the idea of, like, there's so much chaos going around, we probably could walk right in. Like, and they do. And I was like, that felt like the most realistic part of it to me. It was like, yeah, like, this is so out of control right now.
Literally everything's on fire.
They wouldn't notice. And Matt, there's guys over there. Yep. Now there's guys over there too. Yeah, just keep walking. Okay, start running. That was great.
Just fly casual.
Yeah.
I forgot that was in something Dark Side, right? Or whichever one it was. I forget what the names of all of them were after.
Oh my gosh! But and it's like the ship turns into like anthropomorphically casually walking.
Yes.
Yeah, through the stars. Why are you putting the wings out? This is a short runway. It's a very short. This isn't a runway. This is a taxiway.
A very short taxiway.
That was really cool. And then I like. I mean, that was pretty cool too. Like that's the fighter jet that he was in. That they were in the original movie, I guess. So like,
yeah, I believe so.
To go back to that was cool. Gooster being in the back seat, pretty great to mirror Maverick and Rooster. The idea of none of the tools in the back seat were working, and he's like, I don't know what to do.
also the idea of getting into this entirely dire situation and him telling him to eject in the same way that he told his father, and this time it just flat out doesn't work at all.
Yeah,
it's like,
I can't.
Oh, I failed you so utterly that it's not even going to be like I survived and I feel guilty because you didn't survive. We're both going to die, and like I was fully willing to sacrifice myself so you could live to pay that debt, and instead this is going to just blow up in my face entirely.
Yeah. I did like when the fifth generation fighters pulled up next to them, and they're like, oh boy, okay, just be cool, just
fly casual,
and wave, smile and wave. What does that mean, Mav? I have no idea. Just smile and wave. No comms. That doesn't work. Can't hear you. What does that mean? I don't know what that one means either. This isn't looking good. Okay, he's moving into attack position. So it's a dogfight then. I like that. The odds are terrible right now. The only move that we have is to very aggressively and abruptly take one of these things out, and that's what they did. And I was like, that was so cool.
An incredible exhibit of the best defense is a good offense.
Yeah, that was that was so, and then of course like some wild maneuvers and flying and stuff. It was just a really fun sequence, and then obviously Hangman doesn't leave them hanging. Also, really liked Hangman's helmet. Was a game of Hangman missing letters.
Yes,
that was cool. All in all, fun movie.
Fun is the best word to use to describe it, for sure.
And then a during credits sequence of Tom Cruise getting to fly something that he's actually allowed to fly, because I'm sure he tried so hard to fly one of the actual fighter jets, and everybody was just like, no.
But there's a credit sequence?
Not a post credits, but during the credits, he's flying that contraption.
Oh, when he's flying
on with the soccer wrench for the entire movie. Yeah,
that was the P-51 Mustang from World War II. Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic old plane. So that was cool for sure.
Good stuff. Anything else on this movie?
No, like I said, I think it was an old school adrenaline rush, stupid action movie with like 10% more brain cells than the original.
We didn't mention Iceman at all.
Oh yeah, that was legitimately really touching.
To
see how that'll, especially you almost worried. Like, they kept just having him text him, or they alluded to him, or that he's, like, his presence is felt. There's pictures of him, and then to actually get to see him, and then he spends the whole scene not speaking at all, just pointing to a screen with words on it. And it's so heartbreaking to see him like that now, and all that. And I was like, oh my gosh, if they really can't even let him speak, that's so tough. But to get that last little bit of, like, that heartfelt conversation between them for like a minute at the end was really cool.
Yeah. That was great. Is there I forgive me, I don't actually know anything about what's going on with Val Kilmer, but is there something up with him, the actor?
Yeah, that's why they did it like that.
Okay.
He had, I'm pretty sure, a terrible bout with throat cancer.
Okay.
And I think like he had to have part of his jaw removed or something like that, which is why his
that
face
explains
different
the way
and
his
isn't able to speak well. I think that's what it was.
Terrible.
That's been going on for several years. I know it was very touch and go for him at one point, and I know that they wanted him in this movie and they didn't think they'd be able to get him at all. So to get him even for a little bit, they did.
That's cool great. That they were able to do that. It seemed like he genuinely wanted to be there too, which was wow.
And it was a funny way to sign it off. The last thing, which of us is the better pilot?
But this movie's fun. It's a fun movie.
And he goes, why ruin a nice moment?
Yeah, that was good. Awesome. Well, that's all for this week's episode of Flix and the Six. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixandthesix@thespintune.com. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
I'm Al Biolsi.
Thanks for coming out. Al, the second episode has aired. How are you feeling?
A little sick.
Yeah. Wasn't the kiss of death that got you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was... I was just making a joke, but yeah, no, that was pretty gross.
Didn't like that. Unnecessary. Unnecessary.
Yeah, apparently that sparked a lot of conversation. And I know if it was Druckmann or Mason, one of them was like, we really appreciate that all of you feel so strongly about this. They're like, honestly, what they basically said was like, honestly, you don't like it, that's okay. We hear you.
Yeah.
We made a choice and we wanted to do this, and if you do like it, great. And honestly, the fact that all of you guys feel so strongly one way or the other, great. So, yeah. But I was a little confused. I side with the people who are asking why that happens after she's infected. I would have assumed that she would have been kind of left alone at that point.
That's actually where I thought it was going. And I was like, oh, that's cool. It's going to leave her alone because she's... Oh, my God. That was the roller coaster I went on in that scene.
The other thing I saw, and I think they actually... whoever it was in the article I was reading alluded to, was why they tend to like bite or more aggressively brutalize a lot of their victims and not so much with her. It's because most people are fighting it and she's not. Which is why, and also like they made a conscious choice of, yeah, no, that is revolting to watch.
Yeah.
And like
absolutely disgusting.
This is a horror show. So
yeah. I thought it was pretty cool though, like so far seeing the pacing of the story and where they went with this, like that, like I feel like I think I might have mentioned this last week, but each episode I feel like is going to have something very big happen like this that like very much moves the needle on the story and like very much reminds you how serious and like dire the situation is versus like a Walking Dead where you could linger for like 6 episodes and nothing really happens.
Well, it's funny I don't know if this was the season preview or the episode 1 review, but my close personal friend Alan Sepinwall wrote something alluding to the fact that they had that whole set piece in the hotel, and that in something like The Walking Dead, they would have probably, in order to justify building that set, would have probably had to spend half a season in that hotel doing nothing. Whereas this show spent 10 minutes on it in 1 episode and then moved along. And that being a big compare and contrast situation, right?
Yeah. No, that's true.
So, like, I don't think we should really be spending a lot of time anywhere unless there's a good reason to be spending that time there.
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, especially in their current situation, part of not spending your time there is, like, because of the looming threat that's constantly there and constantly getting worse, like, they have to keep moving. And I think that will only aid the storytelling, which is great. There was one particular scene Well, there was a handful of scenes that are one-for-one shots from the game, but like one particular scene with see the Capitol building in the distance and they go down the ladder, like,
and then
and
the rat
they keep
across the top of the ladder.
the rat, right. They keep the camera still like locked that way. That was just like a memorable scene from the game for me. So like that was another one that was like, oh, this is great. Like this feels so good. This show feels so right, and the performances they're killing it. I think they're absolutely killing it.
Yeah, I mean the core 3, which is now 2 for sure. All 3 of them have been really strong so far. They obviously gave a lot of work to do for Tess the last 2 episodes. It is a shame that it's now come to an end in that way. Sure. But I appreciated her for what she was in this show.
There's a lot of characters that you get to spend a little bit of time with that are super powerful in the story. So it's nice to see that they can handle it well. I also think there's something. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but they're like within the conversations that they're having with Ellie, they're hinting at some character building stuff that happens far in like much further down the road, like some stuff that happens even in like the second game, but they're establishing the character further now because they have the storyline. They're not waiting to figure it out and write it. Like they know where it's going. So like they're able to actually make the character feel more grounded now. To know where it's going. It's just really awesome. I just feel like it's it really feels like a masterpiece. Like the way that they're kind of, it's like a second draft of a story that was already fantastic because they have they know where the story is going now. So like they're able to make it more cohesive. Even it wasn't, not that it wasn't before, but like it just makes it like they're laying things out now that are going to make sense later.
You have the opportunity with the benefit of hindsight, both to have the synergy to be able to intend foreshadowing for things to come, as well as you have like the hindsight of, oh, this really worked. This maybe didn't work as well as we thought when we wrote it. And now we have a chance to correct that or improve it. Even if it's not wrong, it could always be better. So yeah, I mean, this should be a more polished and refined version of the original. It was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
If it was lesser, they've done something wrong. Not to say that everything can be improved upon, but there's got to be a handful of things that they can do better.
Well, I think what continues to set the show apart for me and blow me away is that they don't need to go to any greater lengths than the story that they already have that they could just adapt to an actual screen. But instead, they're bolstering it, which is wonderful. The big thing for me, and I don't know how it was delivered in the game, but I'm going to assume like the sequence that opened up this episode with the flashback to what happened in Jakarta, that probably was not part of the game. No.
So there's a real easy opportunity to continue. I really hope, after we've now opened 2 consecutive episodes with flashbacks, I honestly hope that every single episode opens with some sort of flashback, whether it be...
Yeah, that'd be cool.
One, like, it doesn't have to be an episode-length flashback the way that the first episode is. It doesn't have to even be a, whatever it was, 12-minute flashback the way this one was. It could be a 2 or 3 minute one. But we have 20 years of time to fill.
Yeah.
Every episode, to me, I would think should open with somewhere in the world or somewhere in time along the timeline bridging that gap this season. I would open every episode with some sort of flashback to continue to color in and fill in the background to everything that's happened all around the world. There's a million great stories to tell. You don't have to spend a season or even an episode on them. You can spend 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes every week doing something like that. I thought that was really, really interesting way to start off this episode this week with the doctor. It also spawned that great tweet I sent to you. It was yesterday or earlier today. It was, if you're a mycologist and the government needs you, things must be pretty terrible.
Yes, that was great. Yeah, it's man, it's nice to have this show, this anchor, this Sunday night anchor, to be like
Tuesday night anchor. Yeah, definitely.
Well, for me, it's like, the weekend's coming to an end. The long week is about to start again. But wait, there's this. So it's great. Next episode, I believe we're introducing Nick Offerman's character, which will be fun.
Okay.
At least that's what it seemed like.
I didn't see at the end of these episodes. Have they been showing a preview to the next week?
There's like a. I feel like there was like a very minor tease of what's coming, not like a proper like preview of the next episode.
Because I've watched it on HBO Max the last 2 weeks, so sometimes they'll jump into it in the credits. Sometimes you have to like fast forward all the way, and then sometimes like they post like an interstitial separate episode. I haven't looked for it, but I haven't seen anything yet, and that's fine. But sometimes it's nice to have it, even if it's a 15-second tease to what's coming next.
Yeah. Have you been watching I've been watching on HBO Max also, like just immediately as it's available. But they also do like the little interviews at the end.
No, I haven't seen that either.
Really? Oh, well, that's just happened. That just plays at the end of the episode.
Oh, no, mine, it's been going straight to the credits. I'm sure if I fast forwarded, I would get to it, but I've just been turning it off once it hits credits.
Maybe I do watch the credits and I sit there and listen to the music. That might have been what it was. But anyway, that's fun too, to listen to them talk about the show and the episode. Talk about it in a meaningful way where it's like, we made this decision, like we thought about this thing, and like we were really excited to do X, Y, or Z, versus like what they do at the end of The Walking Dead, where you're just like, stop, just shut up. Shut up. You didn't put any thought into this. Stop it.
I was thinking immediately, like, so we're not getting Neil Druckmann saying, so Tess kind of forgot that the clicker could bite her.
Yeah. Oh, man. That was another one where they did a shot for shot of her, like, luck had to run out sometime. Like, that was big. It's fun though to like, cause I'm sitting there watching it with Kim, who doesn't know the story and didn't play the game. So it's fun to know where certain things are going and to kind of just glance over and see how it's being delivered for somebody who doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's effective. It's good stuff. Big fan. And looking forward to more of that. Anything else on this episode?
No, I don't think so. It was definitely a very solid, I kind of had the fear. I really enjoyed the first episode, but with a show like this, I always wonder, okay, we gave you so much in the first episode.
Yeah, can we keep that momentum?
Are we going to really back off? Sometimes you get that real big slack in the second episode. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that they largely didn't do that.
Yeah, I would say they definitely slowed it down, but they slowed it down from like the breakneck speed that it was moving. So it's still moving at a healthy pace.
They turned it down from an 11 to like a 7.5, 8, which is fine. And
right.
Frankly, the whole rest of the show shouldn't be always in 8. Like, you can have a quieter episode. There's so many shows that do that in the second episode. It's like you come to a screeching halt on the momentum. Like, there's room to do that in like episode 4.
Yeah, I'm really curious how they're gonna play it out. I'm gonna guess that they're gonna do the Game of Thrones thing where the second to last episode of the season is the one that is a 15 out of 10. Because there's like big stuff that will happen, and then this way they could do the one more episode that lets you come down from it, which I do actually like that execution style of the storytelling. Like that's
I don't know that every single story works that way, but it certainly was an effective device for a lot of things.
There's room for it here, so I'd be curious to see how. But yeah, tune in next week for the last word on The Last of Us.